Imagine your girlfriend helping her crazy ex-boyfriend that's a superhero villain to find you, almost kill you, and blow up your $200,000 car. That's basically what Kid Cudi described today during the crazy circus of the Diddy trial. Victor Baez here from Club Ambition reporting on the Diddy trial. The craziest trial maybe of all time? No, not really. There's been a lot of crazier trials, but you would think that this was the craziest trial of all time, the way that TikTok and everyone's talking about it. If this was on TV, it would be record-breaking. It would be the most watched thing in the history of life. But it's not. So we have reporters like myself and thousands of them across the country, across the world, independently documenting this stuff and keeping track of it to the best of their ability. Is this the craziest day of the Diddy trial so far? Kid Cudi's testimony, the entire day of the Kid Cudi testimony. I'm going to break down and read the dialogue, show you video, photos of Kid Cudi's case. It's crazy. Cassie dated Diddy from the year 2007 up until 2018. On and off. They had a moment where they were off in 2011. She entered a relationship with Kid Cudi. Diddy found out, and Diddy was very jealous. And according to Cassie, during her testimony, Cassie stated that Diddy even threatened her with a corkscrew, lunging at her with a corkscrew. She also threatened to hurt Kid Cudi because of the relationship. He was jealous of the relationship, right? And this first came to notice when we brought it up last, 2 years ago? Remember in 2023, there's a breaking story of Diddy being accused of rape and abuse by Cassie when she first did her lawsuit. And during this was the breaking story of an early 2012 incident where Diddy was so angry about Cassie dating Kid Cudi that he said that he would blow up Kid Cudi's car and that his car in his driveway, Kid Cudi's car in his driveway exploded around that same time. They reached a settlement in that lawsuit a day after. So it kind of hushed down a bit until Diddy obviously was arrested. And then everything now is being brought to light in this trial. So here's footage of Kid Cudi walking in.
Look great.
You see him walking in.
Hold up, you got this like crystal
Right,
lake.
in the rain. Bro, Kid Cudi was literally smoking a cigarette.
Look great.
Anyone that's smoking a cigarette and wearing leather,
You got this like crystal lake.
if you're wearing a leather black jacket, smoking a cigarette, and you're wearing blue dad jeans,
What are you expecting today?
you have trauma. Just like Grease Lightning, John Travolta vibes. Ready to let it go. Let's read the testimony. This was this morning, today, May 22nd, 2025, at 10:47 a.m. Kid Cudi was called to the stand as a witness. Kid Cudi takes the stand with a leather jacket, white shirt, and blue jeans. They asked him, what did you do for work? He says, I'm an actor and a musician known as Kid Cudi. They show him a photo of Cassie. He says that him and Cassie dated in 2011. They asked him who else dated Cassie. He says Sean Combs. They ask him, what did you know about their status? He says that she and Sean Combs had problems and they weren't dating anymore. They ask him in 2011, December, did law enforcement respond to your home? He says, yes, I had a break-in. Cassie called me at 5:30 or 6 a.m. She said Sean Combs had found out about us. She asked me to pick her up, so I did. So in December of 2011, Cassie called Kid Cudi at 6 a.m. He had a break into his house, and she says that Diddy found out about their relationship. So she was panicking and she called Kid Cudi. He says her demeanor was very stressed and worried. They both went to the Sunset Marquee. He thought it was safe and it was off the radar. He also spoke to Capricorn Clark about this. She sounded near tears, he says. So Kid Cudi here went into the description of saying that Cassie is telling him that Diddy is in a car near Kid Cudi's house. Defense attorney Brian Steele says objection. Asked him, you called Sean Combs? He said, I did. He said that I'm over here waiting for you. So Kid Cudi called Diddy, and then Diddy said he's over there waiting for him. When you arrived, what did it look like outside? He says, pretty normal. They asked him, any security cameras? Yes, but I found out they weren't working. So Kid Cudi had security cameras, but he found out that his security cameras were not working. Security cameras were moved, but he did not move them. They asked him, what did you see inside your house? He says that gifts inside of his house were open, some stuff that he got from Chanel, the store, and that his dog was locked up in the bathroom. Bro, Diddy locking up Kid Cudi's dog in the bathroom? They asked him, how did you usually leave your dog? Kid Cudi says, I let him roam around. How long did you have your dog? He said for 3 years at that point. And if there was a change in the dog's behavior after that moment, he says that his dog basically got traumatized from Diddy's situation. He said that his dog became jittery and on edge all the time. Kid Cudi says, I got back in and called Sean Combs again. I was looking for him. I wanted to fight him. So at this point, Kid Cudi wants to fight Diddy. After this, he goes inside his house. He calls Diddy, and he's looking for Diddy because he wants to fight Diddy. Kid Cudi says that he answers, and he said that he's on his way to Kid Cudi's house, allegedly. This is what Kid Cudi saying that Diddy said on the phone, that Diddy was on his way to Kid Cudi's house. Brian Steele says, objection. Ask a new question, says the judge. They ask Kid Cudi, when you saw Cassie, how did she seem? Kid Cudi says, depressed. Did you see Cassie in Connecticut? They ask him. He says, yes, she needed it. They ask him, did Mr. Combs call you? He says, yes. He hit me a few times. They ask him, hit? He says, called me. Because it's slang. Hit. Like, hit me, call me. But they thought, damn, don't say that in court. This shit's so serious. You can't be saying no bullshit. You got to say the direct. You can't be like, oh, he hit me. Oh, he hit you? No. He called me. You got to be straight up. This ain't the outside world. Then he says, what did you say? Cudi says that I didn't want to talk with him. He broke into my house and hurt my dog. Then they ask him, did you and Miss Ventura break up? He says, yes. So Kid Cudi says that Cassie and him broke up after this incident. They ask him about his car. Kid Cudi says that his dog's babysitter called Kid Cudi and told him that his car was on fire. He was at a relative of his ex-girlfriend's house. Then he went to his house. Then they show him 6 pictures in the courtroom that they have of his car, his Porsche, burnt up in the courtroom. He says, as a damage to my Porsche from a Molotov cocktail. And he says, who took the photos? And Kid Cudi says that Chip, his good friend, collaborator, rapper as well, on features, Chip. They have a lot of great music together. And then he says that there was a hole that they cut in the roof of his Porsche to put the Molotov cocktail inside of. This just like a fucking Tom and Jerry skit. Then they ask him, what was your reaction to your car being on fire? Kid Cudi says, what the fuck? Was the damage to your car present before the call from the babysitter? Kid Cudi says no. They ask him if he thought that it was intentional or an accident. Kid Cudi says intentional. They ask him, where did you last see Cassie? Kid Cudi says, at the Soho house. He reached out to Diddy and said, let's talk, that this is getting out of hand. They ask him who set up the meeting at the Soho house. Kid Cudi says D-Rock and his manager. They ask him what was Diddy doing? And Kid Cudi says at Soho House that Diddy was standing there like a Marvel supervillain. And then Kid Cudi laughed in the courtroom after he said this. But that's how Diddy was standing, like a Marvel supervillain. Diddy told him that they're homies, but that he knows that Cassie is his girl. Kid Cudi says, I thought you had broken up. And then Diddy offered Kid Cudi water twice at Soho House. Kid Cudi says that it was weird because Diddy was so calm. Then they ask him, what did Cassie say? Kid Cudi says that Cassie said that we fell in love and things happened. Then they ask him, what did you say to Diddy? Kid Cudi says that he told Diddy, what about my car? And that Diddy said, I don't know what you're talking about. And that Kid Cudi walked away. They ask him, did you see Diddy later? Kid Cudi says a few years later, also at Soho House, he spoke to Diddy, and Diddy said, I'm sorry about all that bullshit. I was surprised, so I found peace with it. No further questions at this time. And then comes in Brian Steele, defense attorney Brian Steele, right? Diddy's attorney Brian Steele comes in. And Diddy's attorney Brian Steele, famous for the Young Thug case recently, who he just got Young Thug out of jail. Brian Steele says, I want to ask you questions about your Porsche in 2022. Kid Cudi corrects him. 2012. Mr. Steele says, I apologize. You got a call about the damage to your vehicle. Any surveillance photos at all? Kid Cudi says no, that his dog's babysitter did send him photos of the damages. Brian Steele says that DNA was taken, that if he's aware that it came back being a female. Then Brian Steele says, do you know that there were DNA results? And Kid Cudi said no. Brian Steele says that if Cassie told Kid Cudi that it was over. And then Kid Cudi said no, that we just stopped talking. Brian Steele says, you told this honorable court and this jury that she played you. Kid Cudi says yes, that Cassie played him. Brian Steele says, she played you and you had no clue. Kid Cudi says, no clue. In 2011, you went on a tour. Kid Cudi says yes, to 65 locations. At that time, Diddy was an icon. They asked him, and he says yes. And they say to him, you and Cassie had a sexual relationship? Objection. Sidebar. And then Kid Cudi, after the sidebar, chimes in to talk to Mr. Steele. But then the judge tells Kid Cudi basically just calm down and not talk. Kid Cudi says, Mr. Steele, can I? The judge says, no, you can do that on the redirect. Then Mr. Steele says, okay, Kid Cudi, do you want to tell me something? Mr. Cudi says, Diddy asked me about doing a song with Cassie in 2010. Brian Steele says, you believe that they left your front door unlocked? Yes, says Cudi. They ask him, no forced entry? Kid Cudi says no. Brian Steele says, just presence open door in the bathroom. I'm not belittling, just asking, you called Diddy? He says yes. Brian Steele says, was he calm? Kid Cudi says yes. Brian Steele says, you went to see him. You didn't think he had a gun? Kid Cudi says, I couldn't call it. Brian Steele says, you're a strong person. That's how you categorize yourself. He says yes. This crossed the line. Cassie told you that she was abused. Kid Cudi says yes. Brian Steele says, but she never said that she was sexually abused. True? Kid Cudi says she did not. Brian Steele says, you loved her. Tell me if I'm wrong. Kid Cudi says, I did. Brian Steele says, you got played by the same person who played Mr. Combs, Cassie Ventura. In the 13 years since, have you ever been notified in California that there had been more action on this car fire? Kid Cudi says no. Did Cassie have multiple phones? Kid Cudi says, I don't remember. 35, 12. Kid Cudi says, if I said it, I said it. Brian Steele says, do you know what a burner phone is? Kid Cudi says, untraceable. Brian Steele says, the trespass, you call it a break-in. Miss Ventura told you she had given your home address to Mr. Combs? Kid Cudi says, yes, in the morning. No more questions. Thanks. Kid Cudi says, no problem. Redirect, says Judge. Johnson says, what did Cassie confide in you about abuse? Kid Cudi says that he would hit her and sometimes kick her. They ask Kid Cudi, the day of the break-in, was she carefree? Kid Cudi says no. They ask him, what did Capricorn Clark tell you? Kid Cudi says Sean Combs and an affiliate forced her into a car to come to my house. I called the police. How could you describe Cassie that day? They ask him. Kid Cudi says she was really shook. Him finding out about us. Why did your relationship with Cassie end? Kid Cudi says the drama. It was getting out of hand. I wanted to give space. What drama? Kid Cudi says the break-in for my safety, her safety. Brian Steele says objection. Grounds, speculation, overruled. They ask him, why did you have safety concerns? Kid Cudi says, because I knew that Diddy was violent. That's when Brian Steele approaches the judge and wants to have a sidebar. They ask him again, the meeting at the Soho house, Mr. Combs said, I don't believe what you're talking about your car. Did you believe him? Objection. Rephrase, says the judge. Then they ask him again, what was your understanding? Kid Cudi says that he was lying. No further questions. Mr. Miss Cudi, you're done. That was the trial, and that's everything that Kid Cudi said. Here's Cudi right after the trial, speaking with a sign of relief.
Hey guys, so I just want to say, man, I've been seeing all the love and support, and I just want to say thank you so much, man. People have been hitting me up the past week, just checking in, and even today, and it really means a lot to me, man. You guys are the best. I love y'all. This is a stressful situation. I'm glad it's behind me, and yeah, I love y'all, man. Big love. Go stream Neverland.
Stressful situation. Go stream Neverland. Self plugging, self promo real quick. I mean, you gotta get it. You gotta get to it. You gotta do it. We have 50 Cent reacting right after, right? 50 Cent here saying, "What the fuck did Diddy do to Kid Cudi's dog over a girl?" Man, and his photo of 50 Cent literally looking at his phone, laughing about the case. Right here are the photos, right here, of the actual incident. The hole that was made on the top of the porch to be inserted by a Molotov cocktail, right? The leather was burnt on the seat right here, ashes, the whole windshield. These are some high quality photos. This is crazy. This is evidence. Bro, this was almost 13 years ago, and the photos look like they were taken yesterday. Crispy. And to recap, right, Kid Cudi revealed during his testimony that Diddy once broke into his home and confirms that Diddy tried to blow up his porch by throwing a Molotov cocktail inside of his car. Kid Cudi says that he wanted to fight Diddy after breaking into his home and hurting his dog. And Kid Cudi also said that him and Cassie dated in 2011, and then after she and Diddy had some problems and everything that happened with the car, he stopped dating because he felt like it was too much drama. He testified in December of 2011 that during this date, Cassie called him early in the morning, scared, saying that Diddy found out about them. Kid Cudi picked up Cassie, and shortly after, his house was broken into, gifts were opened, his dog was locked in a bathroom, and security cameras were moved. He says that his dog became jittery and on edge after the break-in. He testified that Diddy told him over the phone, "I'm over here waiting for you." Later, Kid Cudi's dog sitter called to say his Porsche was on fire and that Kid Cudi said that the fire was caused by a Molotov cocktail that was thrown into the car. He identified the damages in court photos. He told the court that he believed Diddy was responsible for both the break-in and the car bombing. Crazy. Why would someone do all this? Because they're fucking crazy. Because they're fucking crazy. And this is only going to help the jury make the decision as far as painting. Who is this man? This man's a maniac. A complete maniac, a creator of chaos, literally a Marvel superhero villain type of figure, to the point that he stands like one in instances like this. This was over a decade ago, and now it's brought to light. You know how long Kid Cudi had to be quiet about this, not talk about this, maybe in fear of his newer cars. How many more cars of his is going to get blown up? On top of that, is he going to get blackballed? Like, what was going to happen to Kid Cudi's career, his life? He remained quiet about this, also in a sense protecting Cassie. Meanwhile, Cassie kind of set him up because Cassie was with Diddy that morning, and then Diddy asked Cassie for Kid Cudi's address, and then Kid Cudi gave it. My thing is it could have all been different if Cassie didn't give Diddy the address for Kid Cudi's house, but at the same time, the amount of pressure that Diddy has to be applying, the threatening nature, right? Because Cassie reported in her testimony that Diddy had actual freak-off tapes that he was threatening her that he was going to release because of his relationship with Cassie, because of Kid Cudi's relationship with Cassie. Diddy was jealous, right? So he would threaten her in this type of nature, this type of manner, aside from hitting her. The defense seems like they're trying to paint a picture that there's no proof that it was Diddy, and the fact that it could have been someone else that just broken into Kid Cudi's house at the same time. We got to see what the jury decides. We got to see what the judge decides. This is crazy as it gets, because here we have Diddy being accused of attempting to kill another rapper because he's a petty ex that won't move on from his girlfriend and almost literally tries to kill another rapper. This is insane. This nigga's a lunatic. This nigga needs to go to jail. This is nuts. But it's revealing a lot of things as well, guys, because now we have evidence from Kid Cudi as a witness himself, being the person that went through it, saying, hey, Cassie actually gave the address, right? So there's like, oh, it wasn't just Diddy doing it himself. He had to get the address somehow, right? But then the fact that he got it from the girl that Kid Cudi was dating at the time and going through stuff at the time, it's like, well, you know, he got set up in a sense. She could have lied. She could have said something this and that, you know, maybe set up a meeting. Instead, she got scared, it seems like, threatened, it seems like, and gave the address up. Now, if Kid Cudi would have died that day, it would have been Cassie's fault because Cassie gave up the address. Isn't that crazy? Imagine you're in a relationship and your girl's ex is a maniac that set your car on fire, basically wants to kill you, and then you find out that your girl's the one that gave the address to the ex to find you, and you could have died. This has to be extremely traumatic for Kid Cudi, and it doesn't paint Cassie in the best light. So that's one of the shocking developments here, where it doesn't paint Cassie in the best light also, because yes, she could have been scared, etc., but she did give that address up. So Kid Cudi admits and feels like Cassie set him up. Kid Cudi saying Cassie set him up. Kid Cudi saying that Diddy's a maniac, a superhero villain, wanted to kill me. What are your thoughts? Leave a comment down below. Share your opinion. Wild day in the courtroom of the Diddy trial.